It's time to speak about children and family. And there's been so many conversations about holistic well-being that highlights that emotional intelligence isn't something that develops just by chance. It's something that we can actually intentionally nurture from a very young age, or it being intentionally nurtured into us. So teaching children how to pause, how to reflect, and sometimes how to find calm, especially during life's ups and downs, lots of ups and downs in lives. And it doesn't only support their mental health, but it also builds their resilience, their confidence, and that lasts well into their adulthood. So one expert in particular who's taking this message straight to the next generation is children's wellness facilitator Alleah Church, who's our guest for today. She specializes in guiding kids towards calmness and emotional awareness. And we're speaking to Alleah Church today to actually find out how to do this and how, as parents, we can develop and engage in our children's emotional awareness and calmness as they grow older. Alleah Church is a children's wellness facilitator at Heavenly Healing, a wellness and esoteric shop. Alleah, thank you so much for your time. An esoteric shop, could you tell me what that is?
Hi, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. So, an esoteric shop is basically a fancy word for spiritual.
All right, all right.
So, we deal a lot in holistic things like massages, past life regression, crystals, incense, just the basics of that, sort of.
Love that. Well, let's go into the conversation. Emotional awareness. There's so many aspects of that, but today we're focusing particularly on calmness. And to be honest, I don't see a lot of adults being calm in heavy moments either. So I'm sure it's a little bit more difficult for children who might not have navigated that or developed that sense of calmness yet. You know, you go to a mall and you see a child crying for the doll in the aisle, they throw themselves on the floor, they throw a tantrum, and we're like, oh, they're just kids, that's what they do. Is there an alternative to that?
Definitely, definitely. I think teaching them from young is the best option there. Like you say, as adults, we struggle as well to keep calm. But I mean, that's what I'm trying to do here is you give them the tools from young so that they can take that up with them and as adults can stay calm during these situations. So that's definitely a big step is teaching them from young.
So, how do we as parents gauge our children's emotional awareness and their calmness in particular? What should we be looking for in our children in order for us to start actually cultivating and developing this sense of calmness and emotional intelligence into them?
So I wouldn't say there's much to look for in them. It's rather just something they should be taught from young, so that even if they are seemingly the most calm child on earth, which some people have said they do have, um, I think it's just something that should be taught from young in all kids, so that they've given these tools at a young age to take forward with them so that they are not left behind in, oh, I don't know how to deal with this emotion. I don't know what this emotion is that I'm feeling. Because I think that's a big problem with adults actually, is we were never taught what is it that I'm feeling? How do I deal with what I'm feeling? And how to safely and maturely express it. So that would be a good start, is just teach any and every child that calm sort of thing.
And I think it's a mode of being, right? That calm energy. Because if you are not calm in your home environment, how you raise your child, the expectation of wanting your child to be calm will be unrealistic. How important that you as the parent should lead your child as you want them to be. So that environment you created yourself by being before having that expectation.
It's definitely a very, very important step. I mean, you can't expect to be the most angry, the most out there shouting, screaming, being upset about things and expect your children to be calm. It's definitely something they learn from you. So the adults around them need to be calm so that they can learn this calm behavior. Children are still learning. So it's a massive, massive step for people or parents as adults to teach their kids from young, I'm calm, everything is okay, even if it's not okay, just so that the kids can get an idea, okay, I can handle this without being angry. I can handle this without having outbursts and things like that. It really, really is very important in the household to stay as calm as you possibly can.
Yeah. Alleah, all these things that may have us reacting in various ways are our emotions. How do you teach your children the range of the emotions they may experience, what they are? How do we name it to them? How do we actually have them understand that certain reactions come from certain emotions that are happening inside of you?
So firstly, I think children need to learn to understand or be taught to understand what it is that they are feeling. So are they feeling a bit sad? Are they feeling a bit angry inside? And for younger kids especially, visual representation works extremely well. So maybe colors could be related to feelings. That works very nicely because children love colors, especially the younger ones. So you teach them what it is that they're feeling, then why they are feeling this way. Say, for example, oh, mommy shouted at me, now I feel sad. Or my best friend was ugly to me and now I feel sad. They need to know why it is that they felt that way. And then parents can give them those tools on how to deal with those emotions without having outbursts, without getting angry at people, without things like that involving their emotions. It just needs to be them themselves in their minds thinking, how can I fix this? How can I react to it correctly and safely? And the parents are a major step in that for sure.
Yeah, and that communication is important, right? So, most people find that difficult. I know with communicating with my son, because you've got baby speak, you've got human speak, and adult speak, and the miscommunication happens all the time. What are the ways to go past that barrier of that different way of communications between us as adults and how we communicate with these little ones?
So that is actually a very good question, because I do know babies tend to speak in their own language, especially the younger kids until they get to about the age of maybe 4, they've still got very much their own language. So the best thing I can suggest is try to at least pick up on them. You can see maybe they're getting a bit flustered because you can't understand them and they can tell you can't understand them. So maybe as parents, we could teach them ways to point out what could be the problem. Maybe even draw what could be the problem, or reenact, things like that. And again, colors also come in quite nicely when teaching them emotions related to colors, especially for younger kids. Again, it works extremely well. So angry would be red. It would be any color that pretty much for you basic reminds you of, okay, red is anger. Blue may be sadness, just simple things that young children can understand. That would be, I think, the best way to go about the misunderstanding. As I understand, it does happen a lot with younger children and not being able to speak normal English and things like that. And as parents as well, I think you just need to try and remain calm in those situations and try not to be flustered with the children, and just take a few seconds to step back and really and think about what they could be saying. Because you getting flustered going to make them flustered, and it's just going to cause a whole situation, instead of rather just sitting back, taking 5 seconds to just breathe, maybe telling the child to breathe for maybe 5 seconds, just to get everybody calm and try it again.
Alleah, let's take a break. We'll be back. You've got those screamers. Whenever they want something, they think the best way to translate that I want is to scream. And if I don't get what I want, I'm going to scream a little bit more, because the more I scream, I'll definitely get what I want. And, that's sometimes the vocalization that happens from children, because they've learned a certain type of behavior and they think they'll get results from behavior. How do you change that? We'll deal with that after the break.
Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Balisa and Benjamin, fuel your day with fresh African perspective on Channel Africa.
Hey, we're speaking emotional intelligence, emotional wellness for your child today. How do you actually calm your child down? We're speaking to Alleah Church, who is a children's wellness facilitator. Alleah, you know, messages happen when kids are very young. They tend to transmit from you on how you treat them. So when a child is a little bit younger, they tend to shout and scream because they want things, right? But the older they get, you need to regulate that shouting, that screaming, and say, doesn't mean every time you want something you have to scream about it. But there's those who continue on that kind of behavior, and it interrupts their calmness. How do you say the older you get, you need to change the way you communicate your need?
So again, back to just having to stay calm, relaxed, the things you teach them when they're younger. Because I understand, yes, when children are upset, they want and they scream and they scream and they scream, and eventually the mom gives in or the dad gives in and just gives them what they want to stop the screaming. And that is actually going to teach them that when they're older, they can carry on doing that, and it is going to allow that behavior to continue. So up until a certain age, it has to stop. Unfortunately, I know it's difficult for parents when you're walking in the shops and everybody's staring at you because, oh, your child is screaming, they want this, they want that, and you look like a bad parent for not giving it to them. But at the end of the day, it's going to be something that they keep learning is okay if they continue doing it. And also, you can teach them, I know you're upset, I know you want this, but unfortunately, I can't get this for you because I so and so and so, whatever the reason is that you can't, or basically decide, no, this isn't something that you should be getting, or just try and explain to them in the best way possible that this is not something that is okay. It is not something you can continue doing, because you can't have a 14-year-old or a 13-year-old walking in the shops and sitting down and throwing a tantrum because mommy or daddy won't buy this for me. It's just, it can't happen. So you've got to teach them that when you say no, it has to be, even though there are emotions that come with that, they've got to learn how to deal with those emotions in a way that doesn't cause them to sit and scream and shout, even if they keep it maybe to themselves, but not suppressing it, rather internalizing and keeping, oh, this made me feel very upset because my mom did not want to let me get this. Yeah. And that's okay. Another thing is, for older kids, journaling works really well. It works extremely well for them because it's an outlet on how to get their emotions out without endangering anybody else, without endangering themselves, and without hurting anybody's feelings, anybody's emotions. So that is a good step, I think, for older kids.
Yeah. You know, Alleah, most of us were raised what we'll call the old school way. When you're wrong, you're going to get a hiding. If you're in that aisle and you're throwing a tantrum, your parent is either going to leave you there, is going to shout back at you, or might even give you a little bit of a hiding. There's punishment for certain emotions. But now we're trying to move into a new direction, right? And you mentioned safety. How can we create safety for children to be able to communicate their emotions to us so that we can teach them how to be calm?
Again, that comes back to parents. So I understand young kids or even older kids. I used to get hidings when I was younger too. It's just the way it was. But in today's society, should we say, it doesn't happen at all. And it is, I mean, you can't walk around smacking your child. It just looks very wrong, and it can be very wrong. And I understand children can push all those buttons that you have got until there are no more buttons to push. But as a parent, you've got to, again, internalize that, keep it to yourself for this moment in time, and say just a stern no, tell them what it is they're doing wrong, tell them why it is that they can't get what they want all the time, and just things like that. As parents, we need to stay calm and relaxed. And I know it can be very, very difficult when you've got a screaming child or a child that is going off about something, especially younger children. They throw tantrums, which are not fun. But yeah, it's just parents, again, they just have to try their best to try and stay calm, because you giving a child a hiding is not teaching them anything. It's just teaching them that what I'm feeling is wrong. And that's not right, because you should be entitled to feel how you need to feel. It's just how you express those feelings and go about them. That's it.
So tell us a little bit more about what you do at Heavenly Healing, how you work with children, the sessions that you have with them, and how you try and implement this calmness and emotional intelligence in the young ones.
So here at Heavenly Healing, on the one-on-one sessions I have with kids, I try to keep them in a calm environment. The rooms we have here are very calming. They are not very busy. I put on some meditation music, some very soft, quiet meditation music. And then I just speak in a very calm tone. You have to keep your voice lowered. And some of the kids, you've just constantly got to remind them that this is a calm zone. So with the younger kids, it's a bit, I would say, easier because of the language you can use with them. You can use easier language when it comes to them. So calm zones and things like that. With the older kids, they kind of look at you like, are you crazy? So the younger kids are a little bit easier on that side of things. The older kids can be a bit more complicated, but there is ways to deal with it. And also we have workshops here where we bring many kids together, which helps them feel not so alone, not so isolated, like, oh, there's something wrong with me. So here we have the workshops, and what we do is we separate the age groups. We've got the younger kids and we've got the older kids, again, for language reasons and teaching reasons, things like that. And then one big thing we're building this on is something called the calm jar. So it's basically a little jar where we use crystals, we use charms, we use anything that the children really find fascinating, and we give each of those pieces or crystals or charms a feeling, so that when these kids feel certain ways, they can pull it out of the jar and hold it onto them and kind of let go. We teach them how to let go of that emotion into that charm. Or if they don't know what they're feeling, we teach them to shake the jar so that they can hear all that noise going on, and it kind of helps them just be centered all over again. And then we also do meditations. It works surprisingly well on children. At first, I thought they are not going to enjoy this, they are going to get bored, but it actually works really well on them.
That is incredible. We'll leave it there. Sounds incredible, Alleah. Where can we go to find out more about Heavenly Healing? And of course, for parents who, are struggling with that emotional intelligence or awareness and keeping their children calm, who'd love to bring them there.
So we have got social media platforms. It's Heavenly Healing on Facebook and Instagram. And then we've also got a website, www.heavenlyhealing.co.za. And our contact number is 082-927-4100.
Hey, that's Alleah Church, Children's Wellness Facilitator, helping us on that conversation. Thank you so much, Alleah. That conversation takes us to 11:30 Central African Time. It's time for us to get our sports.